my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon, and today I've got a different sort of book talk video to share with you guys. Today we're going to be doing a book tag. I just saw this tag go up today on one of my favorite booktube channels, Read with Cindy. She's an absolute riot. Definitely check her out if you haven't already. And this tag is called the Mid-Year Freakout Book Tag, I think. Let me check that. The Mid-Year Book Freakout Tag. I was close. So anyway, we are going to just jump on into these questions. It's basically a series of questions about books that you've read so far in the year 2020. So here we go. Number 1, best book you've read so far in 2020. That's tough. I've read some really good books so far this year. Some that come to mind right away are Writers and Lovers, My Dark Vanessa. I loved both of those. I'm gonna go with those as the tie for the best one that I've read so far this year. It feels a little strange just saying My Dark Vanessa because it's such an upsetting book in terms of the topics that are explored in the book, but it was so well written. And I think for anyone that's gone through something similar, to some degree, you can really resonate with it. So I thought that was fantastic. And then also Writers and Lovers. I recently did a book talk on that. It was just so good. I loved it. Number 2, the best sequel you've read so far in 2020. I haven't read any sequels in 2020. In fact, I'm not really big on book series in book series, believe it or not. I think the only ones I've ever read really have been Outlander, Harry Potter, which we don't even talk about Harry Potter right now, but Outlander, Harry Potter, The Hunger Games. I read some of the Sookie Stackhouse novels. And that's really it. Not that I have anything against series in general. I just don't gravitate towards them. It might be because I like an end to a story. When I get to the end of the book, I want it to be the end of the book. So maybe that's why. Let's see. Question number 3. New release you haven't read yet but want to. That's simple. It's Out of Love by Hazel Hayes, of course. It's so funny. I was pumped for this book release. It was released yesterday, I believe. And I knew that was coming, and I went to Amazon to order it, and it says that I'm pre-ordering it for August 25th. And at some point I knew that in the past, like she was having the publisher who she published the book through, because she's from Ireland, and I knew that it was going to be a pre-release for people who pre-ordered through the book company, and I just never got around to doing that, mainly because I had no idea what the conversion rates would be and everything like that, so I didn't do it. So at some point I forgot that I now couldn't just go ahead and order it on Amazon. Long story short, I can't wait to read that on August 25th. Next question, number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. That's a fairly easy one as well. I don't know the title that it will be, but in the second half of the year, Stephen King always releases a book. He releases one in the first half of the year and then one in the second half of the year. And so I always look forward to whatever that release is going to be. Number 5, biggest disappointment. I guess I would have to say for that, American Dirt. I was excited to read it. I stayed away from reading too much about the controversy before I read the book so that I could kind of go into it blindly. And then after I read it, that's when I dug into the details about why so many people had such a problem with the story. And yeah, that was very disappointing. Just once you know everything that she got wrong, everything that just wasn't right, I was very disappointed in the story after that. Number 6, biggest surprise. Oh, I don't even know if this really counts as... I read If Only by Melanie Murphy, and I wasn't expecting it to be bad, of course. I love her as a creator, and I had no doubt she was very creative, but I was blown away with just how beautifully written it was. And so the surprise wasn't that it was good. The surprise was how good it was, and that was a very, very pleasant surprise. I loved that. Number 7, favorite new author, debut, or new to you. And for that, I'm definitely going to say Lily King, who wrote Writers and Lovers. She was just, that story really got to me. It was so good. Like I said in that book talk video, it was the kind of book that as I was reading it, I kept wishing that I had written it. So I feel like that's always the mark of a really great book. And she was definitely a very new to me author. Question number 8, newest fictional crush. I don't really have a fictional crush at this point. When I was younger, I used to all the time, but I feel like the books that I read nowadays don't really lend themselves to that. But I will say I read A Witch in Time by Constance Sayers, and the main male character in that book, I wouldn't say it was a crush, but I liked him a lot. I thought that was a very attractively written male character, and it was very complex, and that was such a great book. That's another one in terms of a new author to me, and I think it was her debut novel that just really blew me away, and that was, yeah, A Witch in Time. It was beautifully written. Question number 9 is newest favorite character, and that is hard to say. I loved a lot of the characters in the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I loved Casey from Writers and Lovers. I feel like I'm mentioning this so much, but it's one I recently finished, and it really stuck with me. What else? Yeah, I guess Casey. Number 10, book that made you cry. We're gonna do this again, aren't we? Writers and Lovers by Lily King. Also, another one, hang on. Also, My Dark Vanessa made me cry. The Return had moments that really got under my skin. So many books made me cry this year, and every year I tend to pick books that have those sort of deep in the feelings effects on me, and yeah, all of those for sure. Number 11, book that made you happy. I'm like, now this might be a tough question. I guess If Only by Melanie Murphy. I thought that was a beautiful story about appreciating what you have and not wasting your time pining for the what might have beens, but just appreciating what you have now. And that story definitely made me happy reading it. It was just kind of that feel-good sort of story. Number 12, most beautiful book you've bought so far this year, in terms of, I'm guessing they mean in terms of literal physical aesthetic, how it looks with your eyes. I love the color of The Return. It's that bright pink. Also, I haven't read this book yet, but it's by Hilary Mantel, and it's The Mirror and the Light, and that one's very beautiful as well. So is My Dark Vanessa. Lots of beautiful books. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? I mean, I don't need to read any, but there's one, it comes out, I think next week, next Tuesday, or a week from Tuesday maybe, and it's called, I think it's called Mexican Gothic, and I think it's a haunted house story. I can't wait to read that. There's another one, it's called The Little Stranger. I've had this book for about 3 years, and it's getting read this year, you guys. Before 2020 ends, there's going to be a book talk on that freaking book. Or else. And yeah, there you go. That's the end of the tag. I hope you enjoyed these questions. I love answering book-related questions. Hopefully finding some more book-related friends. And yeah, Anyway, you guys, I hope you have a great weekend, and later this weekend I'll be back with a couple more chapters of Emily of New Moon. Bye.